as a junior staffer in Washington, D.C. And it's been amazing to watch our chapters grow across the US, Canada, Mexico, Latin America, Europe. Julia is based out of Geneva. We have many chapters coming online in Africa as well. And really what we see is this common bond between not just networking, but we're a professional organization. And this is a special series that we created this year, which is called Unlocking the Power of Trade. Know it, make it, move it, sell it, grow it. And we've been bringing together guest speakers to really help a number of our partners in the supply chain. We know we have a lot of entrepreneurs there. It could be services, it could be goods. You have interesting products, interesting ideas, and having some ideas on how, again, to unlock trade, because now more than ever, there's capacity building resources, there's government support. There are new markets. In fact, we'll talk a little bit about how companies are bringing more women-owned businesses into their supply chains. So I'm really excited about this session because I have two of my favorite people in the entire world who are joining me today to talk about the sell it part of this journey. So great ideas on knowing your customer. We've talked about that. We've talked about the logistics. Julia, you hosted a great session on financing and access. But at the end of the day, you got a really great product, but you have to know who to sell it to. And that can come in a variety of different ways. So my guests are very much focused on two areas. So Teresa Barashad, we have them both share their own personal journey as their introductions. But Teresa now manages her own business where she helps businesses navigate getting into the biggest companies in the United States. But Teresa started as a buyer herself. I know this. So she knows what to look for from buying. She led a major area of purchasing within Walmart, and she also was the lead and founder of launching get this number, $5 billion commitment to sourcing from women-owned businesses. So Teresa has a tremendous amount of insight. We're going to talk about that a lot more. And then we're also joined by Ramon Portilla. Ramon has worked, again, global trade, international. We came together when we worked together in the international division in Walmart years ago, but his focus has been the customer and knowing what the customer is thinking about, wanting, what that experience has been. And Ramon, you've done that in everything from sort of stores to online experience, and now even applying that to your own business and services. So really excited. So we're going to have two focuses today, and this is on that you're going to sell it. You got to know who you're selling it to. What are those buyers thinking about? What are the tips? And then what do the customers want? And so this is going to be a little bit of a framing of our discussion. Before we get into it, I'm going to turn to you first, Teresa. Tell us a little bit more about your journey. And thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure. So, as you said, I started off, 38 years ago, 1985, as a part-time cashier at a Sam's Club. And in that journey, I was an auditor and an international, and then I got into the buying sourcing piece of the business. And which was is still my favorite part of the business, is figuring out what the customer wants to buy and then going out and finding it and then selling it. But within that, I was able to learn how to calculate, and sometimes it's going with your gut, but learning to do all this. I ran the seasonal business and the stationery business, where I had a team of buyers that would literally go around the world to find the best product for the best price that our customers wanted to buy. And when I say around the world, I would go to Asia 4 times a year. And so you go and you look for everything that you're looking for and what you think the customers want to buy. After I left Walmart, while I was still at Walmart, I had the opportunity with you, Angela, to start the women's empowerment movement. And I became the vice president of the supplier administration area, which included supplier diversity, which includes women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. And what that meant was that we would find suppliers that could accommodate Walmart or what our customers wanted to buy. And teaching them how to sell to Walmart, teaching them the expectations of Walmart, because everybody thinks that Walmart is great. Let's get into Walmart and let's sell it. We can make millions of dollars. Walmart's really hard. And so when I left Walmart, I named my company Keeping the Yes. And I named it Keeping the Yes because I can get you a yes inside Walmart. I can get the buyers and sell your item. The question is, can you keep that yes? Can you do all the stuff that you need to do to keep going, because it's not just about having the great items that you have. It's about being able to fulfill the orders, being able to ship the orders on time, being able to manage the logistics, being able to do everything that you're supposed to do just to get it to the store so the customers can buy it. And so we named it that because there were so many times that the buyer said, yes, I want to do that. And the supplier couldn't do it because they didn't understand. So one of the things that I do, and it was really funny when I started my business, my husband was like, why do you keep turning these people away that are coming to you that want you to represent them? And it was because they're not ready. They've got to be ready, because if they're not ready, then it's going to fail. And so he was really complex. He goes, you just keep turning people away. And you say, come back in a year or two, come back. And he goes, I thought we're trying to get you in business to do all this stuff. And I said, they'll come back when they're ready. And so I've had several that I sent away. And after they got their legs, because you've got to walk before you can run. And so they learned a whole lot, because you say, oh yeah, I've got it ready, I can ship, but you've really never shipped anything out of that warehouse before. And so you've got to just work on it and do it. So, and I left Walmart in 2013. I was with Walmart for 27 and a half years. I left Walmart. I was a corporate officer for 13, and I left Walmart and I started my own business. And I focus on the business. One of my biggest customers right now is women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses. And it's because I have that passion, Angela, that we worked really hard to find women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses to work with Walmart. It's just to make sure that you're ready. I mean, because most women invent a product or go and source a product because there's a need in the market, because they need something that they haven't been able to find. And so now we know, if you have that product, are you unique? And then how do we make sure that you're ready to sell it? And I probably work with a supplier 18 months and do the business strategic plan and do everything before we even are ready to go in and talk to them. So, but no, that's what I do. And I have a wonderful business partner, and we've been doing great, and we love what we do. And it's just bringing joy and seeing our stuff sell and thinking of ideas and watching it sell off the shelves at Walmart.
I love it. And we're going to get into some of those tips as well. But what I love about Teresa's insight, she's been there. She's been the one saying, what does a customer want? Where do I find it? And then how do you bring suppliers along in the journey? And there are different shapes, and we'll talk about some success tips too. But once you get that yes, right, what do you do to continue that business and really get that business to be a great success? So customer insights, huge part of that, and human insights. Ramon, you've had an interesting journey as well, equally. Many roles, many hats. Tell us about you.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. I'm so delighted. This is such an honor. And before I start with mine, I just need to say this. Teresa is probably one of the most humble people and leaders I've met. Something she didn't tell you is that she, grew at Walmart to be an officer of the company, and as a female Latina officer, she was probably the first or the second one. And Teresa, you have to correct me. I mean, she was a beacon for many of us in the company to see listen, if you work hard, if you look at people like Teresa, you can grow in this company. So I just want to highlight that because she's very humble.
Thank you.
She really deserves more credit. But I will tell you briefly about my story, and I'm just going to start with, I'm probably going to go to back. And this is a picture. This is a picture of a small store in downtown Mexico City. This is the store owned by my parents. And since I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, I used to go with them and work, in Christmas time and wrap gifts. I was like this short, and I was always excited about helping customers find things. And I think that's probably where I get a lot of my interest and curiosity about understanding customers. And later, my career was in college. I did mathematics and statistics, and I started my career working for Nielsen, a market research company in Mexico City, which allowed me to grow and take Latin American responsibilities. And then one day, I was hired by a small American firm in Indiana that brought me and my wife to the U.S. And A few years later, when they sent me back to Mexico to take care of the business, they sent me a note saying, "Hey, we would love for you to come to Cincinnati for just a couple of years." That was in '01. And I took my wife, my little one, and we left, say, the family, "Hey, we're going to be back in a couple of years." And well, 23 years later, we are here in the US. And the reason I tell you this part of the story is because my story is an immigration story. And this is an international forum. And many of you are thinking about growing and moving and having experiences globally. And I think, it's important that we think about that. And there is tremendous growth and tremendous pride in developing your careers globally. But I mean, there's also trades. And then later, after that, living in Cincinnati, I moved to Arkansas, where I worked for Walmart many years, again, in these areas of customer insights, right? So my job was just to help buyers like Teresa and marketers to really think about what the customer was thinking, what the customer was feeling, what were the motivations, what were the emotional ways in which customers were connecting with products and services. And that allowed me to build great partnerships within Walmart and Sam's Club, which is another format here in the US, which is like a warehouse model, similar to Costco, if you know that model in other countries. And I did that for 16 years. And again, at that moment, also with Walmart, I became extremely passionate about diversity. I admit I was not someone that knew a lot about diversity and inclusion from where I was coming from. And again, my time with Walmart allowed me to be very curious about people with different backgrounds and different ways of thinking. And that allowed me also to become extremely curious to understand employees, or what Walmart call associates, right? So think about that. We want to understand customers, how they shop, and how we can connect with them. But what about the employees and of the organizations that we work for? And I will tell you briefly in a second where that took me. So again, I started developing other things more connected to technology, how we could hear more about customers and opinions, and how we customize and we democratize all that information through my internal clients with Walmart. And one day, 2 years. Well, let me just tell you one thing before I move to the next. Obviously, the pandemic was a huge thing for everyone. But in my area of expertise, I remember in March of 21, if you move yourself to March of 21, at least here in the US, the one most used word was vaccination, right? So everyone was about vaccinations. And the business question I got was very simple. Ramon, can you tell me if shoppers are going to go back to stores after the vaccination completes? Or do you think they're going to keep cocooning and buying things digital? We run stores, 4,000 stores in the US, Walmart. Are people going to come back to stores or not? So I have to go and talk to customers. I mean, imagine thinking them, "Hey, what happened? How do you feel about this?" And just unveiling. And it came very clear and natural. Yes, we want to go back to our lives. We want to celebrate. We want to shop. We want to see our families. We want to travel. We want to dine. We want to build more experiences that this horrible time of our life went us through. So that's when I also became extremely passionate about this part. And later in my career, Meta, Instagram recruited me to join and support Meta as the research lead for the Instagram business. And I will have to tell you this. When I told my daughter, she's now 26, but at that time I said, "Hey, Paulina, I'm going to get a job with Instagram." And she's like, "Oh, Dad, don't tell me. You and I will have to be friends in Instagram, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, you now have to teach me how to use this platform." So it was a fascinating journey. I learned tremendously about working in tech. But I also learned one of the most probably important parts of what I do now, which is the importance of working for a purpose-driven organization. Why I'm telling you this, and just to wrap up, is that a year later, Meta wanted me to move to California. I couldn't move for personal reasons. And I decided to open my own practice called HumanX. And the X stands for experience. And the only reason I call it HumanX is because, gosh, we are all people. We have customers. We have employees. We want to connect personally or digitally or physically. And that's what I do now, help organizations take their purpose, right, and bring it down to strategies that are connected to customers and employees. And that's my passion these days. So that's me.
I love it. And there's so much more. It's not just reading some statistics or getting, a readout. It's having that experience and not only knowing your customer, understanding who she is, where she is, how she wants to shop, where she wants to shop, what she's going through for all those moments in life. So again, both of these experiences are so interesting for us. So we've got a lot of entrepreneurs, and many are smaller entrepreneurs as well. They may be getting started in their business, or they may be ready to launch. They may be ready to fly. So I'm going to start, Teresa, with you on sort of the put your buyer hat on, and what are buyers looking for before we get into how to approach it? But what are they looking for? You said you had a team that was scouring the world for products. Oh, I think you're mute.
Right. The buyers are looking for anything the customers want to buy. So in today's world, I guarantee you the buyers are looking at TikTok. They're looking at the FaceTime Reels. They're seeing what, influencers are doing, because if you talk to young customers now, that's where they're getting their content and what they're looking at. They also look at, what's missing in their assortment. They're looking at what's selling and what's missing. And when you go to a Walmart and you look and you're staring at the counter and you're like, but they don't have unsalted butter. You're looking at all these butters and you're like, wait a minute, there's no unsalted butter, or there's no sweet butter. And that's how they kind of figure out what's needed and how they want to buy it. But it's harder today, I think, than it was when I was buying it, because now you have all these different influencers that are talking to you. You've got to go to TikTok and see who's out there and who's influencing TikTok, and then you got to make sure that your algorithms are right to make sure that you're seeing everything that's out there. And then you got to go to Facebook Reels to see what's going out there and what people are talking about. And then you just got to look at I think a lot of times, and I think what's disvalued more than ever is your gut. When you look at an item and think, this would be great. It's not all about statistics, because you're not going to have statistics if it's never sold before, or it hasn't been out there. So I think buyers, first and foremost, they want to buy whatever the customers are going to buy, and to depend on the stores. And then secondly, they just really have to have a good grounded sight of their category, what's selling, what's missing, the white space out there. What is the perceived value? Why Teresa instead of Ramon? I mean, why, why? What's the perceived value? What's the added value that Teresa can give that Ramon can't give? But so there's a lot of insight, and then you've got to give them a reason why. So.
I did it myself on the unmute. I can't believe it. But you brought home something that's just key, right? Selling it is not just about having a great product. It's knowing what the customer wants, right? The customer is number one in driving it, because again, great product, no one buying it. That's not what the buyer's looking for. They're looking for that thing that's going to grow and really catch the attention. And I love how you addressed looking at social media, right? So much of this is driven by an entirely different genre of marketing, so to speak, and
Yeah.
influencers. So I'm going to pivot, same question over to you. So what are the customers looking for, Ramon? What is she thinking about these days?
Well, I think is the what we are like seeing in social media, it's very interesting. You see a myriad of commercials inserting as you go through your feed from Instagram, for example, and you start seeing new merchandising, apparel, or very creative gadgets, right? And when I was doing research for Instagram, and of course now seeing it also at home with family, these type of ideas or new products are extremely catching for the young audience. But let's also be very, very careful, right? I would tell you from some of the research I've done, sometimes even 10, even up to 15% of people that immediately hit buy in social media, right, end up getting a product that they actually return, or it was really subpar in quality. So I think this connects to what what Teresa was saying, right? It is companies only jumped into the wagon of, hey, I have these cool, super new products, right? But people need to understand that your relationship with a customer doesn't start or doesn't finish when they click payment at the end, right? When they finish the transaction. Actually, that's where your relationship with the customer starts, right? Because if you really think long term, when the customer gets your product and loves your product, what he or she's going to do is recommending your product, and that's going to start really the virtuous circle of loyalty, right? So what I'm in few words telling you is it's just not only that you could surprise customers with new ideas, is that many companies do not think about the post transaction, and that's where the holy grail these days stands for retail. Again, it's in the post transaction after people purchase and receive the products. That's where the relationship starts.
So I love the phrase you use, this virtuous circle of loyalty. You want to have them coming back and bringing others along in the journey. I also picked up on something else you said there, which is it's not just getting the thing that's sort of catchy, but it's got to have the quality, right? You don't want to have that product coming back. You want to have the quality. You want to have the reputation behind it that makes it something that they want to last, keep, and buy more of. Love it. So, Teresa, we talked about in your business, you now sort of navigate others coming to you. Is there a set of questions you may ask to see if someone's even ready to have the conversation or get their business together? What do you tell people when they're starting their journey?
Oh, there's a slew of questions that I go through and ask. And then it's just not, first of all, I have to like the product. I have to see a need for the product. That's number one. The second one, their financial state. How is your financial state? Are you healthy? Are you banking everything on launching this product? I mean, if this doesn't work, are you going to lose your house, your car? How healthy is your thing? Are you structured in your company to be able to start it? Because getting a yes from Walmart or anybody is just step one. You have 2 through 15 now you've got to go and accomplish. Step one is just the first step. So do you have the infrastructure to do it? I will tell you, this company that me and my partner got with, great company. And the first year we did great. We took them from $1 million the first year to $3 million. Well, this year we're going to hit $10 million. And we are running to catch up to get enough people because I mean, they didn't think they were going to go from $1 million to $10 million in 18 months is a lot. And not just because it's the volume of moving it. It is the designers that have to keep up making it. It's the warehouse. Our warehouse wasn't big enough to do it. So there was a lot of infrastructure changes that you got to be ready for. So financial, and then what is your business strategy? Making sure that your business strategy and that we're following your business strategy is on par with what you want, what you can handle, and then what's going to be expected out of you. Because once you hit in there and you start going, the worst thing that you can do is not make what you say, not living up to your word. And I would also tell you is to make sure you're understanding what you're saying yes to. Make sure you're understanding the terms that they're asking for, because cash is king. Everybody knows that. You have to have money to make it work. And sometimes some of these the terms coming out of these big boxes are 190 days. What is it? Net 90, 2%, net 105, 2% 90. Well, for 2%, I'll take the extra 15 days and not give you 2% of, my order. And so you kind of got to understand what the terms are to understand what you want to do. So understanding your cash flow, understanding cash, understanding your money, understanding the flow of money, and of what you can do, and understanding the lingo that buyers use. And when they say, well, what do you bring to the table? And I say, well, I bring buyer talk. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I understand what when they say something, I understand what they're saying. And so I was in a meeting one time and the supplier of the company agreed to this. I said, no, we don't agree to that. And she goes, well, after the meeting, she goes, why not? I said, this is what you were agreeing to. She goes, oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I'm like, I know. And so it's kind of understanding, what the buyer's saying and what you're agreeing to. And then it's just having your infrastructure ready, Angela, because that is so important, and making sure you're healthy.
So, and you started this with make sure you can walk before you run, right? Building
Yes.
that infrastructure, ensuring it's healthy. So a lot of folks I'm sure are thinking too, I need to get a web page or social media channel or Ramon, walk me back to customers and sort of a little bit more on that customer experience. What are the things you're trying to understand about the customer? What are some of the insights that might not be obvious from just this is a great widget and I want to sell it? What else do I need to understand about the customer?
Right. I love the question because it's we if you think about from an insights, right, or a research perspective, any of you in any industry or company you work, right, you really need to understand the landscape, right? Where are you? Where is your need? Where are your competitors, right? But there is this concept probably you have heard about the blue ocean, right? Which is do I want to compete in the same place like others, or do I want to find a different way to position where I want to go as an organization, right? And what I have noticed in some really cool companies that are trying to do things different is precisely thinking, I may be selling, let's say crafts, right? And I'm competing with these other stores that are selling crafts. But what I really want to do is really sell the concept of achievement, right? It's about my unique way of creating things for others, right? It's just not creating a handcraft, but it's really how I can sell a customer or a potential consumer the idea that what I'm doing is empowering them, right? So I think it's a combination, as Teresa was saying about there's a great product, but companies need to understand how they find a way to position that what they offer, it's really an emotional connection, right? I mean, it is extremely important to connect that part, and that you can only do it if you talk to your customers, right? I'm just gonna give you an example again, and again, I just apologize a little bit to the audience, which is international, that we talk probably just to this big retailer called Walmart, but it's just uh, uh, as an example to see when I was just doing research to understand what moved people to shop in a particular store, like at Walmart, and yeah, it was about the prices, and everyone thought it's all about the prices. But then the way to differentiate and find opportunities were like, but why people want to save money, right, and buy things cheap. So always think about the why question, right, when you really are looking to position and differentiate yourself, because this is what this is all about. And that's when the whole why probing became very important. Well, you want to save money because you don't have a lot of it, but why? What are you going to do with the savings? Well, I want to be able to give better food to my family. Well, continue, and that's when you start connecting with more Uber needs, right? The more long-term needs that you are really fulfilling. So, and for example, these days, how does that translate? If you just think about the digital world that we live, we all talk about convenience, right? So it's very ironic, right? It's ironic. I have just been invited to I'm going to be in Spain in a trade show about e-commerce, right? And my conference is going to be about the what does the E means behind e-commerce, right? Because for e-commerce, everything is convenience, right? Just sell convenience. It's all about quick, fast, and boom, very transactional. Well, make a stop. Really? Is that the way that you think just gonna be competing, right? Because yes, in e-commerce, everything is about convenience, right? But what happens when a customer wants to return or wants to call about a problem? It's in a digital world, right? Are you gonna answer? Are you just gonna use a bot to answer to the problems, right? Are you gonna just send them to a call center? So I'll just give you an example, really with data, right? Trust is the most important driver of loyalty to any business, to a hospitality, telecommunication, retail. Trust. So do you know what is one of the most critical touch points to build trust in retail? It's returns, right? You could be loving a store. The moment you have to return an item to a store and your return experience is bad, you lost all trust. So again, the reason I'm saying this is because we have to think about holistically how we fit into the customer world, how we are a friend, a partner, a companion, an enabler, right? And that's what bring long-term relationships.
And again, this theme of it's end to end, right? The first sale is the beginning of the relationship. How do you sustain it, grow it, maintain it? And sometimes in different orders there too. But that's a really interesting aha on the return piece as well. So we're going to back up a little bit too. A lot of our businesses are smaller, and may have a great idea, and maybe watching Shark Tank and want to get that $1 million product in there, Teresa. What do you tell those smaller businesses? What's kind of how do you test it out and grow it? And there are some programs, I know there are some organizations that have sort of spend set aside for women and diverse suppliers. That may be a little bit of the approach too. But you've had a lot of experience in bringing new women-owned businesses in, and not all were going to have the big $1 million deal. What are some thoughts on sort of navigating this sort of incrementally versus going after the big whale?
So I like to say, I'll say it again, you got to walk before you run. So there's nothing wrong with starting in little boutique stores, a little mom and pop down the street that says, put this in there, put it on your counter, see if anybody bites, right? Try those, try little regional, your regional grocery stores, if it's food item or a regional item. If you do go into a big box, market it to 50 stores, 100 stores. You can't look at the 4,000 stores. You've got to look at Walmart used to like to say, the store of the community. What community do you want to go into? Where is it best? Maybe it's only good in 10 stores. Maybe you can look at it, but I would say start off small. You don't want to go for the big whale. You need to ship it on time. You need to make sure that your warehouse, you need to make sure that your EDI or the way you're going to get orders is coming in correctly. There's so many facets of it that you got to make sure. And then how is it selling? Is the packaging the right packaging? Because sometimes we get so emotional to our items because they're our babies. I mean, we gave birth to it, that we can't see what we don't see. And sometimes it's like, it's a great item, but the packaging is awful. I mean, and sometimes you just need somebody to be real with you. Like, I love the item, but you're not telling me what the item is on the back of this packaging. And so sometimes you got to put it out there, and when it doesn't work and you change the packaging on it and then it works, it's like something that. And so listen to the experts. I mean, when you go out there, listen to somebody that's been there and done that is really wanting to make your success their success. And so there's something to say about changing the packaging, like from this blue to that blue. That's really not going to make a difference, but there's something to changing the packaging that really calls out the item and moves stuff around. And for an entrepreneur, don't be so in love with your item that you can't see, past your nose. Be able to take criticism and look at it in a light that they want the best for you, and really look at it and walk away from it and come back to it, because that will really help you. Is this the best thing that's out there? Is this the best I can do? Every time somebody says, is that the best you got? I always dig deeper and find something better that I can make myself. So
Teresa, I'm going to keep pulling on that thread, because I remember one area that we were looking at, we were working with some women in sort of the textile and apparel space, particularly coming out of Africa and sort of Central America. And sort of the aha moment was getting the connection between the customer, actually brought in designers to help say, these are the patterns, some of the styles. You have the capacity to make the apparel, but what works in one market may not work here. Can you share a little bit about that too? That sometimes, allowing, you may have the capacity for the certain type of the product, but sort of that design or working with designers who really do have that customer facing experience could be helpful.
And yeah, for the international suppliers out there, what works in your country, what works in Turkey, what works in Africa needs to be tweaked for what's going to work in the US. And the way, and even though the people coming from your country, sometimes we can Americanize them really faster than they want to be Americanized. And so you really got to look at where you want to sell the product. If I want to sell something in Texas and only in Texas, it's going to have a different flair and everything else than if I want to sell it all throughout the US. Because in Texas, I'm going to be bigger in Texas, it's better in Texas. I'm going to put the Texas flag on it. I'm going to do a lot of different things that if I was going to sell it throughout the US. So it's really, again, Angela, knowing your customer and really doing a really deep dive in where you want to sell the merchandise. I mean, if I was a textile company and I was selling in the US, I would really be on the internet looking at what's selling and what age group, who are you targeting? What's your target? Kind of like Ramon said, who are you trying to go after? Because I will tell you today that my daughters are 26 and 30. And what we're looking at, they're here and I'm here. And we're in the same household. So if you would take my household, you would say, this household does this. But they're here and I'm over here. And so it's like, who's your target? And it could be a segmented target that you're going after, but it's understanding who is your target. You've got a great design, but maybe you need to take that deep purple out and make it a little bit softer for the US market, or a little bit softer for the European market, or change that orange to a yellow, or, little different things, but understanding it. And it's a lot of research. And it's going to take some time, but once you figure that formulation, it'll pay off.
And I'm also hearing that partnership with the buyer, right? And forming that level of trust that you're willing to partner together in growing that business.
Because they have, the one thing that I said, Angela, when I left Walmart, I did a great job of analyzing my business and understanding it. But you could analyze your business when you have all those numbers in front of you. What's really hard is to analyze your business when you don't have the numbers in front of you and you don't have that data to back it up. It's just to going out there and seeing what's out in the market and really kind of watching the sales and looking, just hitting every avenue that you can to understand it. So it's just doing a lot of homework.
And you don't have to do this alone, right? Both of you are in an area where you're helping enable these pieces, right? I think that's the best part, is even about this network, is knowing who to call that can help you get that piece of the puzzle to ensure that you're successful. Ramon, I'm going to come back over to you. It's kind of the same question too. I mean, it could be pretty daunting. I mean, you worked with Nielsen and others. I'm a small business in, let's say, Peru, one of our markets, or Ecuador. How do I even try to start getting some of these insights, just from my level?
Yeah, I think I'm extremely pragmatic here, right? So if in any market where you are right now, you just start surfing information on the web, right? I mean, you can find free sources to what is the size of the market or the trend. I would not underestimate your network, right? Me as an entrepreneur this past year, I have been amazed at how the people have been willing to help me even understand and share thoughts and ideas. So do not be shy reaching out to your network and figuring out other ways to get just the basic information about, again, what is the size of the market of the industry that you're operating, and to the point about segmenting your customers, right? You hear that we've been talking a lot about B2C. But B2B is very important. Some of you may be in industries where you want to sell your services to as a supplier to big or other organizations, right? And you have, I mean, there's two advices that I would give you. First, is this part of the segmentation, right? Sometimes we are enamored by the big companies. Oh, I wish I could do business with a Walmart or with a Carrefour, right, or a big other international firm. But sometimes you should start with where is the opportunity, right? Is that middle size niche? Is it the local niche, right? For example, here in the US, one segment which is interestingly to explore is the Hispanic industry in terms of potential stores or even services, right? So you could say, well, I could be focusing on that. And this connects to my really second advice to you. And this is again coming from someone who hasn't started this entrepreneur aspect, but it's connected to what I've learned through so many years. Don't be shy about what you stand as a company. Take your mission, your purpose as your own company, and you will see that your business will resonate more if you find other customers that share that part of the vision. Believe me, values and vision, it's a very first great step to connect with other customers or potential customers, right? I've noticed in my business, when I start talking about human experience, right? And people are like, I mean, I was talking to some financial organizations in north of Mexico. They said, well, this is very interesting, but you know what we sell is products to make big money and profits, right? So can you explain to me how I would do that? I realized, you know what, this is a very interesting company, but I just don't think I can help, right? Because their objective was, I need to make money quick and fast. It's very respectful, right? But again, you have to be very honest to yourself about that aspect. And let me just piggyback on this third idea, because again, I'm inviting you to go and check information from your market that it's available about your customers and or potential customers and segments. But do not leave behind your own company, your own employees, your own colleagues, right? And whatever you're trying to achieve to develop your business with customers, just make sure that you bring your employees and your colleagues together with you, right? Because what many companies I've seen do is they put a lot of emphasis in improving the customer or the consumer experience, but they ignore what they need internally, right? And in supply chain is very, very typical, right? Many small companies are trying to get business, you know, with bigger companies and try to put a lot of pressure on themselves. But are you looking into your employees? Are you providing them? Are you giving them the big broad perspective, right, as where you're heading as a company? So do not underestimate the value that your own people have to bring your ideas along the way, right? Again, sometimes we underestimate that.
Great.
Lovely.
Right.
I mean,
Julia, I'm going to turn it to you, Madam President, because I know you have some questions.
well, I put some questions, but we've got some customers. I mean, our followers, our participants, and they might have some questions as well. So please use the space of question and answers if you have any questions to Ramon and Theresa for all the wonderful tips that they have given us already. How to start, what to measure, how to analyze, how to do your research from all angles. So what I heard is a 360-degree view about how to sell to big buyers from Theresa. First, you need to crawl before you walk, right? And run, right? So it's like a cycle. So we are growing up together with our own business so that we can as well fulfill the requirements of big buyers. Also, the human aspect, don't forget that you have a big network. And this is what is always standing for. We provide this network with our panelists, with topics, within our own membership base, which is more than 2,000 members all around the world. Also, all business owners, women-led businesses, which is amazing. For me, I heard a lot about, goods. But what about services, right? I mean, goods are fine, but we have also lots of women entrepreneurs who provide services, like me, for example, right? So I don't have any crafts, any kind of textile apparel, but I've got my service. So what would be an advice for women entrepreneurs or all entrepreneurs, let's be inclusive, right? Entrepreneurs who are providing services.
Well, I will. I mean, let me just jump in here. Services is I love the service because it's a more human aspect, but it's a more challenging one because with
Yes.
products like I sell 2 million products are all the same package, the same thing. So that aspect is more manageable, right? But services, it varies, right? Depends who you talk to, who you sell, and but I think now with some of the basic digital experiences, we can start really standardizing and consistent service, right? So I will tell you something very pragmatic that I learned, Julia, is there's this concept of what is called customer journey, right? So any of you that is dealing with service, just start mapping, grab a piece of paper, start thinking, okay, how does the journey with my customer start, right? Let's say someone start looking information about my service. So I have to have a good web page, right? Then people start interacting with it and are asking about more information. Well, do I have the right support to answer questions about the service, right? And I'm going to come back to that in a second, so bear with me. And then I move to the next stage in which people are starting to interact with me. I say, I want to set an appointment with you. I want to see a demo from you. Well, do I have the tools to make this appointment and really address this? And let's say that a potential customer finally close the transaction, right? They decide to subscribe to my service, or even just think about a restaurant. They decide to come to my restaurant, right? So the moment they walked out, do you have like a very basic, even free service to capture the phone number, to capture the email, right? You know, WhatsApp is very used outside of the US, right? You can start just using tools like WhatsApp to get your customer information. For what purpose? The first one, and never forget, is to thank the customer. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for your business. We love to have you. And then later, you contact them about, hey, you know, I'm gonna have, this is a restaurant. Guess what? It's the season of oysters, right? I'm just thinking about a friend of mine that was eating oysters. So come and visit us this season. Build a conversation. So believe me, in services, you have a lot of things you can do that. But I'm just going to make this very quick. We have not talked about that, and I bet you that 90% of the audience is thinking about this. AI. This whole artificial intelligence, do not be afraid. And the only reason I'm talking about that is people get very scared. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of money, AI. You can just start with very basic things, with free things, right? Using like basic ChatGPT or some of those things for your own little business could help you connect with your customers. So let me stop there.
Thank you so much, Ramon. I really appreciate the first steps and how to use technology as well, and the social media aspect. And Teresa, from your standpoint, how do you think about services? But actually, I want to ask a different question to you, Teresa, because you were telling that you were turning down people who are coming to you who are not ready. How many of them came back later to say, I'm ready now, and did you accept them? And what criteria you were looking at?
Oh, so probably that first year I turned down 5 people, five suppliers, and 2 came back. And one we did business with, and the other one, at the point when they came back, they still weren't ready. But one other thing I want to tell everybody is, don't sell yourself short. When you go to price yourself out, make sure you understand your worth as a service person. Like, understand the market out there. And just because you're a woman and you're starting out doesn't mean you're not worth it, because you're probably doing the same thing in a company, and now you're going to go out there and do it on your own. So you know what you're worth. And I think a lot of times women, well, I want to give them a good deal. Well, they don't need a good deal. What are you worth? And don't sell yourself short, because we do that so much, because women are natural pleasers, right? We want to please, we're nurturers. We want to nurture, we want to make you happy, we want to do a good job, and then it'll come back. No. What are you worth? And make sure and do your homework. What's the going rate out there for yourself? So I had somebody said, well, you want to give me I said, no, I don't want to give you a deal. This is my rate. This is what I charge. And I promise you'll have my full undivided attention, and I'll give you everything I have. And if I can't get it done, I'll be the first one to tell you, I've tried, because sometimes it's timing. And I'll be the
Mm.
first one to say, I've tried. If you want to try somebody else, please do. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And but I'm not going to sell myself short. I'm not gonna, and they'll try. So
Yeah,
just
I've
remember that,
imagined.
ladies, don't sell yourself short.
Good, lovely. Thank you for that. This is really great. And I'm really mindful of time as well. I checked the question and answer box. There is no questions from the audience. So with that, I think, Angela,
Oh,
it's time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Angela's
I
got a
have
question.
one. I've a little bit of a note too. Also, don't underestimate the value of having like a woman-owned business certification, especially when you're working with these companies that are setting standards or spend, goals and targets. And I know one of our partners is We Connect International. And so many of our members are going through that process around the world, or other certification regimes, but just maybe a tiny, I know we're close clock, but Teresa, I know that's really important too, if you're looking for a special niche or you're trying to participate in those types of programs.
Yeah, Angela, there are so many companies out there that have a program for women-owned business. At Walmart, we went to go get $20 billion from women-owned businesses in 5 years, and I'm proud to say that they did it. It was a crazy number. We thought, how are we going to do this? And it was literally finding them. So, but one thing was that you needed to be certified, because
Yeah.
we wanted to, if somebody challenged us, we wanted to say, they have a certificate. We're not just making up numbers that say that they're. So it was really important for us to have a certification out there. So I know the first time you go get your certification from a WeBank or some kind of, it's tedious, but it also protects the people that you're working for when somebody challenges them. They say, no, they went through it. They are certified. A woman owns that, because there's sometimes men have a business and they put their wife's name and their wife's never walked into the company.
I know.
And
Absolutely. There's so many.
there's so many of that, and you don't want to ruin it for the ones that are out there hitting the pavement and working really hard for what they've got. So it protects you, it protects your company, and it protects the people that are working with. The other thing I want to say to the ladies out there as they're building their business, if I can for 1 minute, is don't ever forget your true north. Everybody has who they are. Be loyal to you, have a true north, and never deviate from your true north, because it's so easy to say, oh, I can do that because you want the business, but that's not your true north. So stay true to yourself, and make sure that you have your true north set up, and you know where it is, and you're heading for it. You're just going.
Lovely. I like that, Teresa. And I must say, I always have a saying as well, as being a kind of a coach, it's like, when you're in doubt, get your values out. Right? That's the thing, because there is something which doesn't work, it doesn't click, it's not aligned. Leave it. Leave it. It's not worth it. You need to, as you were saying, know your worth, know your North Star. And I know the reconnect process because I'm certified as well. So I went through this tedious process. It's really tedious, I must say.
Yeah. So Julia, let me just jump very quick on what Teresa says, just because I will tell you also what I've seen as a huge value of this North Star.
Yeah.
In bad times, because things happen, right? When you're really going through a very tough times, your true north, your values are going to be incredibly helpful to filter the decisions you have to make. Right. I'm telling you, for someone that has been through this a lot, your true north will clear in difficult times when you have to make tough decisions, right? So that's also a huge value of having very clear what you want to stand for.
Absolutely. So mindful of time, we've got 1 minute, Angela. Let's go and have the last one closing remark from Teresa, and then afterwards, Ramon.
Oh, you know what? It's been my pleasure to be here. I wish everybody success. If you guys need any help of understanding how to sell, understand customers, Angela, I think my email's on there. Please don't hesitate. I'd love to help anybody, because my true passion is working with women and minority-owned companies and making us all a huge success. Because I really think we're going to take over the world one day if we haven't already. Sorry, Ramon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ramon.
I will tell you in my case again, whatever I can help you with it. I'm really in this quest, this moment professionally about we can make this world better, absolutely better. And it's about the human relations and the human experiences that we do to drive our business, again, with customers and employees. So just be very, believe me, that's going to be a lot of the future of our own organizations. And again, as someone that has been coming from international and now working in international markets, I mean, the tremendous opportunity to grow in that aspect. So never underestimate what you can do outside of your own
Thank you. Thank you. And closing the loop, Angela.
So I just want to thank Ramon and Teresa for joining us in this part of the series. This is the exciting part, right? This is where it kind of comes alive. And you've done both that in your careers, which has been amazing. It's just been a privilege knowing you for these many years and seeing what you're doing even in this next chapter. So thank you. Thanks for this network. If you aren't an OWIT member, join us. Bring your talents, bring your network, bring your great ideas. Julia, I'm going to turn it to you to share how they can do that. But thank you so much. I'm so grateful for our speakers today and many, many wonderful insights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All the participants who are interested, and we're recording this, please go to admin at owit.org. If you have any questions, you want to become a member, we certainly will get back to you in 24 hours. And anything that you would like to have as services from Ramon or Teresa, we're going to get out a post as well immediately, also tagging them. So please follow us on social media, like us, give us a thumbs up, going to put it on your YouTube channel, register, subscribe, and let's stay connected. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.